Welcome to Make My Vision Real, a local resource for starting and growing your small business. The show's founder and host is Susan Swartzwelder, a small business specialist who helps people start and grow the business of their dreams. Today's show is sponsored by Newbury Business Park, a Geauga County incubator for growing companies and business startups. Learn more at newburybizpark.com. Now get ready to make your vision real. Here's Susan Swartzwelder.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to Make My Vision Real. This is a weekly show that focuses on helping people launch and grow small businesses. Today's guests are Karen Bowersox, owner of Downs Designs in Menor. Karen designs and sells special clothing for people with Down syndrome. The clothing fits their unique body shapes and is soft to their sensitive skin. Karen is a serialpreneur, meaning that she's owned more than one business. Prior to launching Downs Designs in 2009, Karen owned and operated Karen Clean, a large housekeeping service, and that was from 1986 to 1998. Then from 2001 to 2010, Karen set up and ran her husband's medical practice. This past July, Karen's company, Downs Designs, won the Staples Push It Forward Small Business Contest with an award of $50,000 in digital marketing assistance. So, Karen, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
I'd also like to welcome Maria Dellapina. She is an optician and owner of Specs for Us in Burton, Ohio. In 2004, Maria designed and developed special eyeglass frames that provide a better fit for individuals with Down syndrome and others with low bridges. In 2013, Maria received the exceptional, now help me, Maria, Meritorious Service Award from the National Down Syndrome Congress. Maria also received the Vision Monday's Most Influential Women for Optical Innovation for 2013. Welcome to the show, Maria.
Thanks,
so glad
Susan.
to
I'm
have
glad to
you.
be here.
It is my distinct pleasure to welcome both of you to the show. I'm so happy to have you because you're both, in my opinion, some of the most daring and innovative women that I've met. I've been working with small business startups now for about 10 years, and most of my time spent in the software industry. So when I started working locally and started meeting the entrepreneurs on a local level, they spanned all different kinds of industries, different kinds of professions. And I have to tell you that some of the most intriguing stories are right here in Northeast Ohio, and you are two of them.
Oh, thank
so,
you. Thank you.
I just want to welcome you both to the show and tell you how excited I am to have you here. So what I'd like to do, the way the show works is that we tell your story in the first half, and then we get a little bit deeper into the growth and expansion in the second half. So what I'd like to try to do, since you're my first show with two people, is we'll just kind of keep this real casual, and I just want to have you tell your story from your perspective. And so let's start out with Karen. What was your inspiration for starting your business, and how did it come to you?
Well, I have a granddaughter who was born with Down syndrome. She's 8 years old now. When she was little, I didn't really realize too much about Down syndrome. I just loved her, and I noticed pants were always long and sleeves were always too long. So she started walking, and my daughter struggled with her pants all the time, trying to keep them rolled up so she wouldn't trip and keep them out of her cereal bowl when she was eating. So she was 4. So I was visiting one day, and Michelle frustratingly is rolling up her pants and says, Mom, you're a businesswoman. Why don't you start a good business and make clothes for people with Down syndrome? So, running my husband's medical practice at the time, I laughed. Mm-hmm. So I chuckled over that. So I went home and I says, well, I'm just going to buy her something online. So I went home and I spent the whole day looking for something for a person with Down syndrome. And I found nothing. And I also found nothing really in adaptive wear at that time either. So the thoughts just started spinning in my head, and then I'm thinking, well, maybe I could just get clothes and alter them, and I knew a really good seamstress. Mm-hmm. And then through our practice, I had people who had family members with Down syndrome. So somebody told me about this woman who was a seamstress and had a daughter. So I called her, and she said, well, just altering clothes would not work. So then the next step, I called the Virginia Marty Design School in Cleveland, and I talked to some of their teachers, and they were very helpful. And then they said, you'll need to hire a designer. So they gave me a name of a graduate, and in January of 2010, I met a girl named Jillian Jankowski, and we started our company.
And so the reason that you couldn't just alter the clothes was because why?
Because their body shapes are so unique and different from ours, and people don't realize that. They have a different bone structure. They have short femurs. They have a short humerus bone. They have smaller shoulders. They have other issues with low muscle tone. So many have large tummies. So they're short, and but not just short. Their
so
knees
it's not
are
an off the rack kind of fit for the clothing.
No, not
for
at
them.
all. And so the more I got into it, and we had to find models to start. So we. I went, there's a karaoke night right by my house, and I just barged in there and I just started talking. There was some parents there, and I said, I'm looking for models. I'd like to start making some clothes. And I had this big vision, I was going to have all these clothes. Well, I started with just pants, and I started with just jeans, because jeans are one of the most hardest to wear.
Yeah.
Hardest to wear for a person with Down syndrome, and the most wanted thing to wear for most kids and adults. So then I had to find how to make jeans. Well, they're not made in the U.S.
Right.
So then I had to figure out how would I get them manufactured. So people just would give me advice, and there's a website online called Alibaba. So I went out on Alibaba and I said, I'm trying to make jeans for people with Down syndrome. And I had 1 million manufacturers send me pictures of skinny jeans. So we know that didn't work.
That didn't work, right.
So this one gentleman sent me a picture of a person with Down syndrome conducting an orchestra. That's how I met my first manufacturer.
Wow.
So
it was one inspiration after another.
One inspiration. One wonderful person giving me one little bit of advice that led to the next and led to the next. And through divine intervention, I always say that, I met the right people at the right time, and I was
That's always the way it goes.
Yes.
That's
just
always the way
led
it
step
goes.
by step.
Yeah.
And now after 4 years, I really feel confident. I go to China. I go to the factory. I'm learning Chinese.
Yeah, I want to talk a little bit more about that, because that's the daring part that I admire about you so much. So, Maria, let's talk a little bit about your inspiration. How did it come about that you created these glasses for people with the lower bridge?
Well, my total inspiration was my daughter. She's now 14. When she was about 2, she needed glasses, and I had already been in the optical field for well over 25 years, and figured among all my friends that supplied frames that I could find the perfect fit for her. There just was not a pair of glasses out there I was satisfied with.
Now, just so that your audience knows, your daughter has Down syndrome.
Oh, yes. My daughter has Down syndrome, Erin. And because of the Down syndrome, they have different facial features. They have a lot lower bridges. They're usually, the bridges may start at their lower eyelid or below.
Right.
They have narrow PDs, which is the pupil distance, so their eyes are closer set.
Oh,
which will give them wider temple areas. And they usually have closer, smaller set ears. So the ears are smaller, set lower, and they set closer to the front of the face.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So a typical frame isn't designed for facial features like that, and it would always sit low on them.
So their glasses were always the top of the glasses were always just hitting where the vision board,
right, they'd be looking over the top, and there was no way she was getting the visual acuity out of the glasses because she was not looking in the optical centers.
Right, right. So because you were, it was born into your family, basically, that was your major inspiration for taking on these major challenges with starting these companies. So Maria, with your starting the glasses, did you actually create or design the frame itself, and how did that work?
Yeah, I could look at a typical eyeglass frame and see what needed to be changed on it that would make it a proper fit for my daughter. But it was, so I draw it out on a piece of paper, but my biggest challenge was manufacturers would not take my drawings seriously. I would fax off my drawings, and they would send them back to me redesigned like a typical frame.
So they were redesigning your design.
Yes, back to what a frame should look like in the optical industry.
Interesting.
And I was approached several big companies. In fact, a good frame rep of mine was having dinner with CEOs of a big company that did a lot of children's eyewear. And he took the idea to them, and the wife said, oh, this could be really good. And the husband, which was the CEO of the company, said, oh, there's no need for this.
Wow.
And I'm telling you, love to tell him now that I send them all over the world, and there's definitely a need for my product.
Well, you'll definitely have to have that conversation with him, just like Karen with people who have said there's really no need for the special clothing, right?
Right.
I mean, honest,
Or people who say, well, why are they so different? They have no idea.
Right.
So our job is like to educate people on this subject.
And there's a lot of education that needs to be had out there, really, for this kind of thing. So as you started to see the need in the marketplace, I mean, did you research the market? Did you think to yourself, I just have to go do this? Or did you go out and research the market? I know how big the marketplace is. I know this can be a profitable business. Or did you just say, I've got to go change the world?
Well, kind of all three. I did do some research on it. I did find out 87% of the children by preschool with Down syndrome usually need have some kind of eyewear need.
Oh, okay.
They're diagnosed with something to do with the eyes that would require glasses. I also had researched around that there was nothing else like that. I mean, I went through everything looking for something with her. And kind of had to just keep doing it on my own. But it was then the next step was to figuring out how to proceed. I had done about every end aspect in optical except seeing an eyeglass frame made.
Right.
I knew what I wanted done to it, but to try and get it manufactured
get it made
was the toughest part for me.
Yeah, but you finally did.
Yes.
How long did it take you to find someone to make that prototype for you?
It was about 4 years. You give up a little bit thinking, there's not quite a need. And then Erin got really sick and was in the hospital. And the doctor I was working for, I asked for the time off because she needed to be with her. I was a single mom. Well, I lost my job asking for the time off.
Right.
And the only way I could get back into it was I'd go to a couple interviews and get pulled out that Erin needed to be picked up at school. She was still sick. So my really good friend said, Maria, she's not going to let you work outside the home anymore. You've got to get this frame thing going.
Right. And so that was a big push for
big
you.
Push.
Karen, how about you? How did you do a lot of research ahead of time, or was that just your inner drive that said, oh my gosh, I've just got to go change that world? Because I know you personally, and I know that's your mission in life is to change the world.
Well, the research was I couldn't find anything. I spent hours and hours and hours and hours researching the market, I'm a gut girl.
Yeah.
I just dug in and I just started.
You just knew in your gut
I just knew
there was a need for it and that there was nothing. I mean, I helped you do a little research and helped you find that there was a few starts, but
nothing.
They fizzled.
Right.
Right. And so the tenacity that you have just kept moving and moving and moving forward. And now you have a warehouse full of jeans and shirts, and it's amazing. It's just simply amazing. So let's talk a little bit about the support that you got early on. How much support did you get from your friends and family? Because that's always where we go for our first support, right?
Right.
Friends and family. So Karen, let's start with you. The friends and family support, did they think you were crazy?
A lot.
Yeah.
But my husband, big support.
Yeah.
Especially financially.
And that helps a lot, especially when you live in the same house.
Yes. I mean, he's never doubted me for a moment, and we've literally put up everything. So that's, I worked for him, and now I left the practice. So that was hard to leave the practice. I was a big help for him there. But he's just whatever I've needed, whatever money I've needed, and whatever we've had to do it to keep it going. That's what we do.
And your friends early on probably didn't believe that you'd get as far as you did. And so now what do they think?
Well, people that know me never doubted it.
Yeah, I bet. I know that. Yeah.
So I didn't find that to be a problem.
Oh, that's good. How about you, Maria? Friends and family, how was the support?
The family, a couple of my older kids were off in college, so they were there and supporting. They could see it. Most of it was the friends and the friends within the Down syndrome community. I mean, it can get really tight-knit.
Yeah.
And most of the kids did wear glasses. They were all having the same kind of problem. And so when we started putting little blogs out there about something coming, the feedback I was getting from the community is, please, how soon can we get a pair?
Right. So you had almost instant support from the Down syndrome community.
Yes, definitely.
Excellent. And so what about your professional network along the way? both of you have been professional women in the professional arenas in different industries and everything. What kind of networking did you do early on, and where are you now with the network? It's all about networking these days and getting introduced to someone who knows someone. And now we have LinkedIn and and connections through connections. And so, Maria, how about let's start with you with the connections and.
I really
networking.
think with this new social media and stuff out there, I have made it easier to find. I'm actually working with a couple of people that have come to me that want to make a couple new designs to help out. Where before the struggle to find a manufacturer wasn't, just really tough. Early on, when we were talking about financing, we were trying to go with something like Jumpstart, one of those, and they all turned me down, saying there was no need for any of this.
Really?
And so that's why it's so fun to say, I did this on my own with just very little startup money and I had to push for it.
Right.
But I go out now and speak on vision to a lot of the support groups around the United States and visit a lot of the doctors' conferences. And once they see it, they get on board and they're a lot of help. They're really out pushing for me.
And so do you think that the lack of support early on was just from either the inability to see your vision or just that there just wasn't the capacity for those that you approach to really dig that deep in their imagination?
Yeah, I just think they didn't see the whole need for it.
Yeah.
We're now
the belief wasn't there, is what you're saying.
And because of the design, a lot of the doctors are coming saying they're using them on their typical infants with underdeveloped bridges, your Asians, African Americans, anybody with low bridges. So it's expanding for me too.
So expanding into different markets for you. And Karen, you're expanding into different markets too now, right? So let's talk a little bit about that.
Well, because our pants don't have buttons or zippers, and we use spandex for our men's and boys, and we designed a really nice looking jean that doesn't have a button or zipper. It has belt loops, and it looks like a pair of jeans.
I've seen the pictures.
Erin
They're
gets
phenomenal.
complimented all the time on hers.
Yes.
Because
Erin wears our jeans, right?
Yeah, right.
So with that, there's this other market out there of men and boys. There are no jeans for men and boys that don't have zippers and buttons. So what I'm trying to develop is a line for men and boys who have trouble with zippers. And there's millions and millions and millions. So that's what I'm working on now.
Well, unfortunately, we have to take a short break. But when we come back, we're going to dig a little bit deeper into this. So stay tuned. We'll be back in just a few minutes. Okay, and we are back. And when we left, we were talking about expanding into other markets. And with me today is Karen Bowersox of Downs Designs and Maria Dellapina of Specs for Us. Both women are dynamic entrepreneurs, and they serve the Down syndrome market. We were talking about their products. Maria does optical wear for people with Down syndrome and low bridges, and Karen does clothing for people with Down syndrome and other disabilities. We're finding out she's expanding into other markets. So when we left, Karen, you were talking about starting to expand into other markets, and I'd like to kind of finish that little thought there that we were talking about, because I think it's important for people to understand that just when you start to get your feet on the ground with one product, oftentimes that births inspiration for other products. And so can you talk a little bit about what happened with you?
Well, 54 million people in this country have a disability that affects their dressing. So with what I've learned over the last 4 years on how to make jeans and how to make comfortable jeans for men and boys without buttons or zippers, I've come up with a new line of pants that we're working on the prototypes right now, and we're getting them made so we can help just millions of men and boys that have difficulty with zippers. Jeans are kind of a special product, and after 4 years of going to the factory and understanding how difficult denim is to make, I think I know how to do this now, and I'm ready to expand into something to even help more people, and it will also help my Downs business. So this is the part of expansion where I have to reach out now and look for an investor. So
okay.
that's we're now you'd ask if we were doing research. I didn't prepare like that. Now I am researching. The research that we've uncovered is just unbelievable.
Right.
And the adaptive wear out there is typically, it's just not attractive. And the companies that I have called would welcome a nice looking pair of jeans for a man or a boy.
And so you're reaching out to organizations that serve a lot of people.
Yes.
And a lot of it is firsthand knowledge and firsthand research. You're actually going to these places and talking to
people and just finding out, the struggles that people have that nobody addresses.
Right.
People don't address people with disabilities.
Right.
It's just not out there. And, the Disabilities Act, it made access easier. But there's clothes and there's these things that people
and the
need.
things that they need, the daily functional things of life is really sort of dismissed.
And style got
have
lost
them
somewhere.
adapt to whatever is off the shelf and be done with it. And I think that we're starting to see a big shift in society now with a lot of companies. I mean, what is the guy's name that does the shoes? Joe Shoes or whatever it is. For every pair of shoes he sells, he donates a pair to countries in need. And we're starting to see a lot more social awareness in the companies that are starting up these days, which gives me goosebumps all over. But that's a whole nother conversation. I want to get back to the startup phase, and then we're going to sort of talk a little bit more about the expansion phase. So if you had to give me one thing to share with the listeners that was really tough for you guys in the startup phase. And in startup phase, I mean, there's different phases of startup, of course. It's, the imagination phase, get the idea, the prototype's done. Then there's the launch phase, is the cash register ringing. And then, you have that growth phase where you start to sell your product before you start launching into other phases of the product or different variations of it. In the early stages, Karen, what was that big mountain for you?
Designing. Each of our age groups, we started with adults. It took a year to design.
Just to get that one design.
Get the one pair of pants for an adult. And now there's a lot of different body shapes. So my designer had to work with 8 different models. Right. And so it took fitting after week and week, months go by. And then you have to get the factory to make you a sample. And then you hope the sample comes in, that it's correct. Then the manufacturing. Now you have manufacturing time. Then shipping.
Right.
Shipping takes a month.
Right.
If I could make jeans in the United States that were affordable and stylish, I would do it here in the U.S. Mm-hmm. But people do not realize denim is a very unique product. It is not cotton. It is not just... And it's expensive to make. Mm-hmm. So if you want an affordable, stylish pair of jeans, you must do an overseas market. Mm-hmm. And China, I go to the jeans capital of the world to get my jeans made. And I go right to the factory myself, personally.
We are definitely a global market nowadays. Maria, how about for you? What was, in your early stage, what was your biggest mountain challenge?
Probably... outside of finding the manufacturer was just getting the word out there myself to the professionals that I existed. A lot of their conferences or shows you could go exhibit at, the costs of the tables at these exhibits can be very costly.
Wow. Well, I know like the Cozy event, $1,600 for a table for 2 days.
Oh, yeah. Most of these are $2,000 to $3,000.
And you have to get there.
Oh, and then you have to get there,
and pay in the hotel.
Yeah,
right.
The hotel. And we was, it was me, myself, and I doing this. And
right.
So
and you were running the company.
Right.
And you're running a household with a child with Down syndrome. Yes. And who needs you, right? It's got to be mom, right? You know, and so that's got to be tough too.
It was a challenge to learn how to juggle everything around, and it has all come to its place. And if there's a will, there's a way, and you know the answer will come to you.
Now, Maria, you've been in business since 2000 and...
We established the business in 2004. The actual first set of frames, though, did not arrive until June of 2008, and it was on Erin's birthday.
Oh, how unique! Oh my gosh, what a great thing! And it's called Erin's World, right?
The frame line is called Erin's World.
Yeah, right after her. So, so Facebook was just starting to come into fashion, and social media wasn't necessarily where it's at now. So it's a little bit harder for you, Karen. You have that advantage. However, you're both beating a path of something new, and serving a market that has never been served before. So now you have almost a direct line to your marketplace if you can find them in the social media arena, right? And so now going to these conventions and the buddy walks and things of that nature is only helping to strengthen that connection to your community, right?
Yeah, I kind of have to hit both ends. I hit the professionals and the doctors, but then you hit the parents who go off and do the work for me, and they go into their doctors and say, why don't you get these in?
Right. So they're getting pressure from the consumer end now, too. And Karen, for you, you're starting to find that other end now, too, where before it was direct to consumer for you, but now you're starting to find some of the group homes, for example, and some of the, I had talked to you once about that place, the amusement park for. I can't even remember the name of it.
It's a big one out west.
Yeah.
Morgan's World.
That's what it was, yeah.
We're waiting till we still have one size that we're the one age group. My granddaughter Maggie's age group. I didn't say that. Okay. We've been working on that for 2 years.
Wow.
2 years. Wow. And we just finally finished the final pattern. We're waiting on the last sample. I think we're ready to start production. Hopefully have it by the end of the year.
So this is really interesting because, I mean, the time it takes to get one thing right is a long time. I mean, when you're doing it in your head, it's like, oh, we can do this, right? And so it lives in that world of I can manipulate things in my mind and make it right, but to get the actual action to happen is really a big challenge. And as you start to expand, you're going to have other mountains. So let's talk a little bit about your next big mountain that you see coming down the line, because you're both expanding your lines and expanding your products. So Maria, what do you see as your next expansion mountain that you're going to climb?
Right at the moment, it's probably, I believe that glasses should look like an accessory and not a necessity. And you can't just have 4 frames and everybody wearing the same kind of 4 frames. So you kind of need to expand your inventory, get up with the fashion and expand your designs, and getting a manufacturer on board that will help with expand that too. I'm not as creative as some other big designers out there. And I was trying to get some help from that end.
From the designing end?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So if anybody's out there that designs eyeglasses, contact Maria. We'll give you her contact information in a little bit. Karen, how about for you? Now, you were talking a little bit about NZB.
NBZ. No buttons or zippers.
No buttons or zippers. That's a unique name for a company, or a sideline, I guess you would call it, because it's all under...
No, I want to have a whole new company.
Oh, it'll be a whole new company. Okay. All right. So what do you see as your next big, huge mountain?
It's always money.
Always money. Always money.
But I honestly never feel like I have a mountain to climb. I just don't worry about it. And when I get there, I just hop over it. Somehow it comes when I need it. That's all I can say.
Yeah,
I never worry.
Maria's nodding her head, yes.
When you're doing what you're supposed to be doing, somehow this has been my path at 65 years old. How did I get here? I don't know. I just know this is where I am, and this is where I need to be, and this is where I'm going.
And that's one of the big topics of discussion when I start out. I do a lot of library classes, and is entrepreneurialism really for me, and that kind of thing, so that people can do a little bit of soul searching. And I think that when you have identified a purpose, when you can say, I was put here for this purpose, you're bringing a product or a service in to make someone's life better that otherwise without you may not have received that gift. That gives you the inspiration to keep moving, which keeps you driving forward, right? And oftentimes I tell my clients, focus on the what, and the how will reveal itself. And I know I've had these conversations with both of you before. I tell all my clients that. But, I mean, how true would you say that is? Do you have any examples?
True. I don't know. We've just, you put it out there. Even it'll come through even from a parent's suggestion or an idea, and we get so much feedback from them. And you just, you sit and we'll sit back and think, and it'll just comes to you. I can't get exact one that's happened, but it's happened many times like that for me.
It has for me too. Karen, how about you?
The shower.
The shower?
The shower. I can be in the shower and
the shower.
That's the answer.
Yeah.
It just comes to me like, oh, why didn't I think of that before?
Yeah.
Or meeting the right people. That's it. You just can't worry. It just happens.
Yeah.
And I don't know when and I don't know how. I just know it will.
Right. And it's hard to let go of the fear and say, I know it's going to happen. An example for me happened today, actually. I had to give someone last week, I'm joining a speakers bureau, and I had to give them the title of a speech that I was going to give. And I didn't have the speech. I just had to give them the title. So I gave them the title, which is The Magic of Inspired Action. And so my speech is in 3 days, and I have no speech yet. And so I said a little prayer and said, "You gotta send me the inspiration for the speech." And it hit me today through an email. It came into my email box. I clicked a link. Someone talked about inspired action. They gave me the answer that I was looking for, and in 8 minutes, I wrote my speech. That's how quick it happens. So it really does happen, and you just have to believe. It's that blind faith thing. So let's talk a little bit about the act of being an entrepreneur. Karen, what would you say is the best part about being an entrepreneur, and what do you think is the worst part?
The best part is the satisfaction that I get from a customer that just wrote me this beautiful email or posted something on Facebook and said how her daughter got dressed all by herself today in 5 minutes and didn't yell and scream, and I didn't have to fight for her to put something on that didn't fit. And I get that 20,000 people on our Facebook page, and the response is overwhelming. And that's the best part.
And so do you get the community sharing that joy that your customer posted on your Facebook page? Do others respond to it?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
We get and it's, that just keeps you going. That 12 to 15 hours a day that I work, I never call it work.
Yeah.
And I can't wait till Monday. I know that sounds crazy. I can't wait to get up Monday and go in.
But I know the same feeling. I was thinking about that today as I was writing my speech, because inspired action is all about working from the heart, and not from the brain. And I feel the same way. Maria, how about you? What is your feeling about the best and the worst?
I tell everybody I have the best job in the world, but it's also been good to me because I've been able to be there when my family needed me. Mm-hmm. If I needed to take her into the doctor, she's had a few little slight medical issues. Nothing, there could always be something worse going on, but I could get the time off. I'm lucky enough to have a very supportive staff of just a couple wonderful women. And I can go and leave and do something for her if I have to, and not feel guilty about it, and not to worry about.
Right. What about the worst part? Let's talk about the worst part of being an entrepreneur. Is there a worst part?
Not for me.
Not for you?
I don't think so.
No, I think you have to keep a positive outlook. You could pick up a negative on anything, but it's a little more struggle. You have to dig some on yourself. But if you've got, like you said, you're inspired and you're driven, you don't look at the negative part of it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Karen, would you agree with that?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I just don't find any negativity at all. I could say, oh, money might. No, it's not even the money. It comes.
Yeah.
But so it's satisfaction. It's personal satisfaction of doing a good job and having a quality service. To me, it's more about the service. How about you?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a lost art today.
Yeah.
When you take a little extra time and you give your customers that little, and you take a little extra to do the job right, or fix something, or alter it, or so it costs a little more, but they come back and buy more.
Now, Karen, you have a unique service.
Very.
So you're the one that you order the pants, you send them the pants.
Send them several to try on.
Several types to try on in the comfort of their own home.
Correct.
Right? And you will even Skype with them to try them on.
FaceTime, Skype.
Yeah.
And then they come back and they've marked the hem. We hem them so that every pair is perfect. If we need to take this in or let this
right, and then all they have to do is dial you up and
then the next
reorder,
time,
and it's really easy.
We keep all the records of every inch.
Yeah, and Maria, I know that you offer a similar service.
We do, when we can't find an optician in their area that aren't opened up enough to expand. We will ship frames to parents, especially overseas or over in third world countries we work with.
Oh, really?
We'll send them several frames. We send them a self-addressed envelope to return it, postage paid when we can. Some of the overseas ones we can't.
Yeah.
But so that they can work with the child at home first and not in a big, busy doctor's office.
Yeah, because that's a big challenge for people.
It can be.
To take them out and have them try things on and that kind of thing. That can be really tough on.
And sometimes you can't take a child shopping. I mean, nothing
Right.
fits them anyway. So by me having them send it to their home and they can try, maybe it's a week before they even get the child to try it or the adult.
Right.
So
it's on their time frame, right?
Yes, in their own home. It works wonders and it gives them a sense of confidence that they didn't have before.
Mine's a little different because we have to get the professional end. I mean, I want them to have the professional opticians work with them and stuff. But when we do have that one or two patients that don't work well out in a community, we'll work with them at home. And then we suggest they see their optician for the final.
Well, my granddaughter wears those glasses and she just looks absolutely wonderful. And she's always gotten
She's
that special.
adorable.
Ladies, we have to take another break. I can't believe the time is flying by, but stay tuned and we will dip into the mailbag when we get back. And we are back. We are with Karen Bowersox of Downs Designs and Maria Dellapina from Specs for Us. Both are Northeast Ohio companies that serve the Down syndrome market. Both of these ladies have been in business for a few years and have wonderful products. So if you know anybody with Down syndrome, be sure to get in contact with them. We'll make sure that you get their contact information at the end of the show. And so our last segment is really to answer some questions that come in through the email. We sort of prime the audience and let them know who's coming and that kind of thing. So one of the questions that we always get asked that never fails is, if you could give a nugget of wisdom about launching and growing a product-based business, if you could share with a couple of nuggets maybe of wisdom for both of you, some things that you wish someone had told you. Maria, let's start with you this time.
I think the hardest part was just going out and asking for the extra help, looking for the doors to open. Once I learned that, all they can do is say no, I just started asking more. Discounts at conferences. I'm a first-time exhibitor. Would you help me here?
Did you even know to ask? Did you even know to ask?
No, somebody came up and told me, did you know that a lot of times they'll give discounts for first-time exhibitors, or you could, So now I ask for everything.
And I always go back, and I've said this on every single show so far, you just don't know what you don't know, right? Wow, yeah.
And
absolutely.
once you get out there, just among other exhibitors, even like talking with Karen or anyone else, I mean, we feed off each other, and so we learn other avenues to go down.
Okay, so making sure that you make the ask and finding a way to overcome that fear of making the ask, right? Because we're all afraid of rejection, right? Well, I am too. I think a lot of times it's a female thing. Men, they just ask. Women, they have a little bit harder time because we're such givers, right?
Yeah, I mean, you got to be strong with your ideas because I had that idea. I knew this would work, but in the beginning, people in the optical industry kept saying, no, there's no need. And, so you kind of start stepping backwards, and I just decided I had to step forward.
Right. And so anything else that you would want to share with them? If somebody had said, to you, it would have made your life so much easier.
I don't know. It's just hard. You just kind of keep plugging away.
Karen, how about you?
Don't give up.
Yeah, don't give up. That's a big one. How about you, Karen? Is there something one nugget of information that you wish someone had told you before you started?
That banks won't give you any money? How about that?
Yeah, we could talk about that for a few minutes.
Okay. I really, when I got into this, talk about being naive. I had this idea, and I just thought I was going to make all these clothes. So I went into the bank, and I go, can I get $500,000? I seriously
You really thought they would give you the money.
I just thought, this was like 4 years ago. I really thought it would just be easy to get funding. Well, that door slammed in my face.
Yeah.
So the reality of it is banks aren't going to give you any money. No startup bank. That's one thing you have to overcome, and you have to figure out other ways. So into the pocket.
Right.
That's where it comes.
Right.
And I think the reality of it is, if you have to figure a way to have, if you don't have the money to start it, there has to be a way.
Right.
And if it's supposed to be started, there'll be a way. Yes.
Yeah. Where there's a will, there's a way, and focus on the what and how will come.
It just came, and then the person that you need comes into your life and gives you some advice and sends you in another direction, and one thing leads to another. Mm-hmm. But I was very naive.
Yeah.
I thought because I had good credit, I could get all the money I needed.
Well, I think it's interesting to pause here for a second and talk a little bit about that, because Maria, you had mentioned too that you had gone to Jumpstart and they said there wasn't really a market need for it. And I think that a lot of times it's approaching the right place at the right time. Jumpstart, as far as I know of the organization, they focus on a lot of high technology, and it's about the big bang for the buck and a quick turnaround. And this area is becoming a hotbed for technology, biomedicals, that kind of thing, the medical industry and advancements in those areas. And so you do have certain organizations that are focused on those things. Unfortunately, it's easy to get caught up in the idea that there's grant money out there for this or there's funding out there for that. And I can tell you that I have not worked with one person that had an easy time getting any funding whatsoever. But there are angel investors that do focus on certain things, and finding them can be a challenge too.
Your smaller credit unions. That's
smaller
a good
credit
start,
unions?
because the bigger banks kind of did the same thing with me, and I had been with them for years. I turned around to our smaller credit union in our little town, and they were more than willing to to help me out.
There you go. You want to give them a plug?
Yes, that's Geauga Credit Union.
Geauga Credit Union. There's Geauga County again, right? Yep. So, okay. So let's get to the other question, which is, if you could go back and do one thing differently, what might that be? And if you wanted to give me two ideas.
I don't know of one thing I would do different.
I would have pushed harder in the beginning and not set back the 4 years that I did because I knew I had this idea, but kept getting turned around. I think I just should have took to my guns, and I could have got it going quicker.
Really? Okay. Yeah. So sticking to your guns.
Yeah. You got to believe in yourself, because you get these ideas, and then like you said, money and things come back. And I think there's a lot of startup people that just will back off then from it, and you just gotta...
Yeah, I had a new client call me today. She's going to go through the business workshop planning book that I've developed, and I asked her what her biggest challenge was, and she said that I keep getting put off because I keep asking people their opinions, and they keep telling me, "Oh, this won't work," and I keep shutting myself down.
Right.
And so listening to other people telling you no, if I could tell you one thing different to do for yourself, that would be surround yourself with people who believe in what you're doing, because that opens the doors for you. It's almost like magic. When you start to believe that the product or service that you want to provide, once you've found someone who needs it, there's how many trillions of people in this world? I don't know.
Yeah,
millions,
word of mouth
right?
is the best form of advertising.
Right? And you find one person who will use your product, Karen, how about you? One thing that you could do different? Nothing?
Well, I didn't waste any time. I just moved forward. I never really thought about it. I just did it. Yeah. There was really no thought. I just jumped right in.
You jumped right in.
Mm-hmm,
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
If you could have stepped back and maybe slowed down a little bit, would you have slowed it down? I mean, you've been doing this for a long time now. You're almost in your fifth year, right?
I'm in my fourth year.
Fourth year.
And the first 3 years was really designing. So all our money was really spent in the first 3 years without sales. Mm-hmm. So all this investment, and now I'm just starting to get some nice sales, and are going now. Mm-hmm. So I've learned so much that this new business will be like falling off a log.
Yeah, because you've already run through it.
Yes.
Like you've had a dry run already,
Yes.
or whatever, the practice run or
Yeah.
whatever you want to call it. And so the next one is a little bit easier.
So going before an investor to me should be so much easier because I have the numbers, I have the facts, I have the preparation that I did not have when I went to the bank and wanted $500,000.
Well, unfortunately, we got to wrap this up. So if somebody wanted to get in touch with you to learn more about your products, how would they get in touch with you, Karen?
Our phone number is 440-290-8903.
And your website?
downsdesigns.com.
And Maria, how would someone reach you?
Our phone number is 800-586-1885. And they can email us too at info@specsforus.com.
Great. And I will put their information up on my website. And unfortunately, that's all the time that we're going to have for today. I am so grateful for you to come and talk to us, Maria and Karen. Thank you again so much.
Thank you for having us.
Be sure to join us next week as we continue our series around building a business out of passion and necessity. Remember, this show is for you, and the questions and comments can go to help@makemyvisionreal.biz. Thanks for joining us. I wish you good luck and good business. Have a great evening.
You've been listening to Make My Vision Real, a local resource for growing your small business. Visit makemyvisionreal.biz for more information on connecting to local resources. Send your questions for next week's show to help@makemyvisionreal.biz. Today's show was sponsored by Newbury Business Park, a Geauga County incubator for growing companies and business startups. Learn more at newburybizpark.com. The show's founder and host, Susan Swartzwelder, is a small business specialist. Tune in every Sunday from 6 to 7 p.m. as Susan and her guests share ideas and resources to help you start and grow the successful business of your dreams.